Joining me now is Tom Fitton. He is the president of Judicial Watch. Tom, thank you so much for sitting down with us. I know that you're very busy right now when it comes to looking into what's going on with the Trump impeachment effort and this Ukraine controversy. Just really quickly, just give us your reaction to everything that's going on because it's happened so fast.
Well, this is a terribly corrupt process targeting President Trump. In my view, you can't call it impeachment. It's more like a coup. It was corruptly formed in the sense that you had this alleged whistleblower illicitly communicating with Adam Schiff information he wasn't supposed to communicate. It looks like classified information. Is being corruptly pursued in secrecy without affording the president any of the rights traditionally granted someone targeted with impeachment. So President Trump's civil rights are being thrown out the window by a Congress that is desperate to go full speed ahead with this coup effort against him. And there's got to be a way to shut it down. If I were the Senate, I'd be telling the House there won't even be a trial because we're not buying into this corrupt process, and it's going to be thrown out immediately upon it's being sent over to the Senate, if indeed that's what happens.
And it does seem that this is coming from a dishonest place because we know that the House Democrats already initiated this effort to impeach President Trump. They didn't really have a specific crime in mind, but the House Judiciary Committee was looking into it. Then all of a sudden we hear about this, the whistleblower, the complaint about the phone call between President Trump and the Ukrainian president. So we all read the transcript multiple times over and over again. I mean, how many times did you read the transcript?
There's nothing inappropriate about what the president did. Look, he's being targeted because he's the whistleblower. He was asking for investigations. His Department of Justice is doing investigations. He's demanding accountability from foreign governments who were targeting our campaign and our elections, namely Ukraine was, by interfering, by coming down on the side of Hillary Clinton, and he wanted accountability. And frankly, the president should call back the Ukrainians and make sure they're actually following up. And he should be demanding the Justice Department keep on doing this. This is what this is about. It's about protecting the establishment that was engaged in illegal conduct in collusion with foreign nationals to upend the election and then target President Trump with illicit removal. We're in a constitutional crisis, and the president's being victimized here. And let's not pretend this is impeachment that has this constitutional patina about it. To me, it's just lawlessness run amok.
There are people that are upset about this whole process. They feel like it's not transparent. They have no idea what's going on. There's a lot of secrecy when it comes to investigations and interviewing any of the witnesses. What do you make of former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani? He's President Trump's attorney, and he's kind of the center of this whole Ukraine controversy right now. Do you think he'll be indicted?
Oh, I think the deep state wants to target Mayor Giuliani for sure. And if I were him, I'd be very concerned about further abuses of law by the deep state Justice Department, specifically the Southern District of New York, that was the center of this improper raid on the president's lawyer, Michael Cohen, at the time. And now it looks like they're concocting some sort of foreign agent claim against Mayor Giuliani. My view is all bets are off, and there's nothing the deep state won't do in terms of trying to prosecute people who otherwise shouldn't be prosecuted. And Giuliani is being targeted because, in fact, he's a whistleblower. He's highlighting the failure of the FBI and the Justice Department to investigate these Ukrainian allegations. He's highlighting their failure to investigate it by doing the work himself and having to go abroad and figure out what was going on as part of his defense of the president. And the idea that anyone would be sniffing around a prosecution of him for doing it shows you how corrupt this town is.
The Democrats specifically are saying that, or accusing the former mayor and Trump's personal attorney of running some sort of shadow foreign policy operation to benefit President Trump's campaign. Now, former Mayor Giuliani says that that's actually not what happened, that he was looking for some information on the origins of the whole Russia collusion hoax. And so the dirt on Biden popped up, is my understanding.
Look, Rudy Giuliani was right to ask questions about what was going on in Ukraine. It's tied inherently to the Russia hoax. In fact, you had the Ukrainians colluding with the same group that was trafficking this fake Russia story. You can't separate the two. And look, the Democrats are trying to stop any investigation into their corrupt spying and targeting of President Trump. Rudy Giuliani was onto it, so they're targeting him now. And obviously they're still trying to remove the president to protect themselves, to protect Obama, to protect Hillary Clinton, and now to protect Joe Biden.
And you said this, that Giuliani is somewhat of a whistleblower, and he actually said that himself. He says, I'm the whistleblower, why am I not being protected? Is it unusual, the scrutiny that he's receiving? I mean, he is the president's attorney.
Well, unfortunately, it's not unusual in this unprecedented circumstance we're in, where we have federal agencies being tasked with targeting people simply because they're associated with President Trump to protect themselves from investigation for criminal conduct. There's a constitutional crisis going on here in Washington, D.C., and it's not because of any misconduct by President Trump. It's because of the seditious, malicious conspiracy against them that includes spying, illicit prosecutions, and other attacks on the rule of law and the constitutional system. It's a real... we have good reason to be concerned about the future of our republic if this goes by without anyone putting a stop to it.
And have you had a chance to look into the associates of Giuliani's who are U.S. citizens, but they're from Ukraine or they have ties to Ukraine?
Look, I'm suspicious of any prosecutions of anyone in Trump world. If I were the president, I would just be pardoning anyone prosecuted who's in the circle of Trump world, because the Justice Department, in my view, can't be trusted to prosecute anyone. And so it's surprise, surprise. Two people close to Rudy Giuliani get prosecuted for campaign finance violations right in the middle of this Biden investigation exploding. You know, come on, who are we fooling?
Well, and part of that's lost in this whole discussion is that they are U.S. citizens. So the way that it's portrayed and painted out in the media for everyone to consume is that these, horrible Ukrainians stepped in. I don't know what they did. I don't know about the campaign violations.
Yeah, these are American citizens, and I love. There was one story. It was either the Post or the New York Times. They said Soviet-born individuals. That's something out of the 1980s. And the media is desperate to take out Trump. And they're working with the Democrats in Congress. In fact, they are complicit in the illegal leaks by publishing classified information contrary to law to target Trump. It's a coup cabal.
And right now, Judicial Watch is investigating whether prominent figures in the conservative movement, as well as journalists, were being watched or monitored by Ukraine.
No, this is the Ukrainian ambassador, our ambassador to the Ukraine, an Obama-appointed ambassador. Big controversy because she was pulled back because it looked like she was a deep state actor. Yovanovitch, the information we have is that she was tasking her embassy to monitor the social media postings of Giuliani, Donald Trump Jr., Sarah Carter, who else?
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity, Seb Gorka, all of these figures associated with President Trump for anything they say on Biden, Soros, Giuliani, and of course the ambassador's name herself. And it's illegal. And the only reason we know about it is because someone in the State Department said you can't do this, it's illegal. And I don't know if they stopped doing it, but the U.S. government and government officials abroad certainly can't be compiling information, even public data, on American citizens. And again, the target is Trump, but the corruption are those targeting him.
Is this unprecedented? Have there been files put together before on other journalists? I mean, this is kind of news to me. I'm kind of surprised. And when you say that they're gathering information, it's just what's out there. So they're looking at Sebastian Gorka's Twitter feed or what he said on a radio show,
the government
or what Sean Hannity said on TV.
Right. The government can't be compiling files on American citizens in this fashion. That's why the State Department in D.C. put a stop to it once they got word what the embassy was trying to do under the ousted Obama-appointed ambassador, Yovanovitch. So, those are the allegations. We've done the FOIA request. We hope Congress pursues it. But you've got to factor that into this discussion here. There were a lot of people very nervous about the Biden issue and Ukraine, and they were willing to break the law, potentially, to see what conservatives were saying about it and what specifically the president's son and lawyer were doing about it. Incredible.
What do you think they wanted to do with this information?
They wanted to be able to track and respond to the threat of exposure, in my view. But we'll see. We've asked for the documents, and we hope it's not going to happen in the House, so we hope someone in the Senate pays attention, or maybe Secretary Pompeo can release the information rather than waiting for us to sue for it.
I don't know if you can say, but how did you even find out about this? Like, what?
We have our sources.
Okay, so sources, tipped you off on this and said this is going on. When did you find out about it? Just recently, or has it been a while?
We have our sources.
Interesting. And you're also looking into the Biden's, I guess, financial ties to other countries, specifically Hunter Biden and his deals in Ukraine as well as China. In Ukraine, he was the head of Burisma, the director there. He didn't really have a lot of experience or qualifications for the job, but since he has the last name Biden, which he admitted in a recent interview on ABC, he said, a lot of the gigs I had over my lifetime probably was because my last name was Biden.
Yeah, we've filed 3 Freedom of Information Act lawsuits, federal lawsuits, to get documents about those deals, to get documents about the firing of that Ukraine prosecutor done at the behest of Joe Biden under threat of $1 billion of aid being withheld, just obviously corrupt. So we want information about what went on there. And we have other FOIA requests pending, so this is just the beginning. But as I said, Congress isn't going to do the investigation. The media has decided that you're not allowed to ask questions about what Joe Biden was up to because they're protecting him, because they're partisan. And so it's up to independent groups like Judicial Watch to do the jobs that the politicians and the media aren't going to do.
Yeah, I mean...
And Giuliani, he's asking questions, and they're trying to prosecute him for asking the questions, it looks like to me.
Yeah, I think it's fair to ask questions. Like, we don't know for a fact about everything. Yes, we know how much he made while working for Burisma. In this ABC interview, he said he didn't make any money from the Chinese, but, there's accusations and allegations that he made, like $1.5 billion. He said in the interview, if I inked a $1.5 billion deal, do you think I'd be here doing this interview, is what he said.
Well, he had an unusual business relationship with a Chinese front, a Chinese government front. And he's going to argue about how much money he made over it. And in many ways, that's inconsequential. He got the deal, it looks like, because of his relationship with his father, and his business partners were involved in official state visits by the vice president at the time, Joe Biden. He admits that there was at least a handshake between the two, and so this is what's ironic about this, Stephanie, is these stories that we're talking about here, or these issues, the media has covered in the past. So it's not like we're making it up. They've noted
that there's a ton of attention.
Right, but they noted there were issues during the Obama administration. There were concerns about what his son was up to. And so if you look at the New York Times and the Washington Post, you'll see the stories. You'll see stories in Politico about Ukraine's interference in our election systems back 2 years ago. So the idea now, it's politically inconvenient to raise these issues that have previously been reported on. They want it to all go down the black hole, and we're not going to let it go down a black hole. That's why we've done our independent investigations, because it's clear the media has zero interest in figuring out what went on.
Well, there are some who find it rather curious that he would step aside from both businesses, from Burisma and from the Chinese firm, as his dad's running for president. So if he wasn't doing anything wrong, why would you need to step aside?
Yeah, those are political calculations. The real issue was there misconduct by the vice president in intervening in Ukrainian politics to get a prosecutor that looks like was targeting or potentially targeting his son's company, and why it was appropriate for the vice president to be doing backslapping and handshaking with the Chinese communist-linked business partners of his son.
And I want to switch gears here. The IG report's supposed to drop sometime maybe this week, maybe next week. We keep hearing that it's coming soon. What are your predictions?
We already know the FISA was an abuse. The FISA targeting of President Trump through Carter Page and Lord knows who else was an abuse. They didn't have the information that they said they had. They promised to the court. It wasn't verified. It was, they would go to the court and say, we've got 3 sources. It turns out it was 3 variations of the same source, me, myself, and I. They were really lying to the courts. Judicial Watch has the document showing that they were lying to the courts. It was unverified. It's never been verified, and they told the court otherwise. So I suspect the IG will confirm that. The question is, are there going to be any criminal prosecutions? And, you know, I'd be pleasantly surprised if it happened, but I'm skeptical anything will be done, given the prior IG report showing criminal activity by James Comey in terms of spying on, stealing, and leaking President Trump's FBI files to include classified information, that there was no prosecution by this Justice Department. I can't imagine there's going to be prosecutions on FISA, but who knows?
And there are a lot of people that believe that we're living in a country that has a two-tier justice system. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, certainly at the federal level, it's pretty clear it's all about getting President Trump and protecting those who are targeting him from the consequences of their criminal behavior, not only to get them, or criminal behavior that might otherwise get in the way of getting him, like Hillary Clinton's email misconduct and things like that, where they're trying to protect her by targeting Trump.
And now that we're on the topic, you mentioned Hillary Clinton's emails, and that's something that Judicial Watch has been aggressively looking into for years. Do you feel frustrated that not a lot has been done in that regard, and people say, oh, well, you know, why bother Hillary Clinton? She's just a private citizen living her life now.
Well, you know, the swamp approach, the deep state approach is, you know, you run for office and you lose the presidency, and therefore all your criminal conduct, it's like a pardon for it. It's a get out of jail free card, and that can't be the case. Look, the initial criminal investigation into her was a sham and corrupt necessarily, and unfortunately the Justice Department has been frozen both by the Mueller investigation, frankly fear, in terms of pursuing the real criminal investigation that should have been undertaken to begin with of Hillary Clinton. So Judicial Watch exposed the Clinton email scandal through its FOIA litigation, and a federal court judge wants the answers that the American people want. Was Mrs. Clinton avoiding the Freedom of Information Act and the law by misusing her email system? Were they hiding and obstructing the court by trying to abuse the court by keeping the emails away from the court and trying to shut down our case before anyone knew about her email system? And he wants to know where the emails are. Where are they all? And so right now the court's considering whether to bring her in and require her to testify about not only her emails, but yes, Benghazi, which was the actual case that uncovered her emails.
Are you confident that would ever even happen? Like, do you actually think this will happen?
Well, we've gotten a lot of other testimony over the objections of this Justice Department, by the way, and this State Department. And I suspect we'll get Mrs. Clinton's testimony directly. We've already gotten her testimony through written questions under oath, but it's been sorely lacking in detail and follow-up that would be necessary that you would get from questioning someone in person. So I'm hopeful that we'll get it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your insight and your time. We know that you're very busy, and we'll definitely be following what you guys are up to.
You're welcome. Thank you, Stephanie.